Most common questions that I'm asked when I attend these trade shows or other events is, what are companies selling for? And it's usually in the question of how much per gallon are companies selling for. Are there a lot of people selling? Who's buying? Are most sales on retained gallons? And how much do you think my business is worth? Very common questions that a lot of owners want to know. Some of the trends that I've seen in the industry recently is property has actually become more desirable. The lower real estate values are a much better investment. If you look into lease or buy, sometimes the mortgage payment is less than the lease payment. SBA loans, we did a deal recently, and the way the deal got through was because there was property involved, because SBA wants hard assets. Most acquisitions, if they don't include the property, 85 to 90% of the value is in the customer list, and a lot of banks are unwilling to lend on that. Environmental concerns have eased. There's still a lot of environmental concerns, but with the new regulations that have been in place, particularly since the 1998 tank regs, many of the locations are up to snuff, and therefore there's a little less pressure on the environmental. And bulk storage in general has become more desirable for a couple of reasons. One is with the carry in the market, people that hedge properly, you can actually leverage that storage to make additional profits. And also the high cost of operating a business. If you have local storage, sometimes that will pay for itself in operating costs. Diversified companies have value. We're finding that a lot of heating oil companies are getting into propane. And vapor is a term that I've heard, which is natural gas and propane. Companies are selling natural gas, they're selling electricity. People are looking for new revenue streams. I think the last session, all three rooms were talking about diversification in some way, and that's what our industry is moving towards. And that diversification has value in the industry. We'll call accounts, although not the most desirable. There is value there. And there is some value in COD, although how you pay for those gallons is, you have to be very careful for. I'd be remiss if I didn't have a slide on selling your business, because that's a lot of what I do in my business is help people sell their business. Telling your story. Yeah, it could be called the hockey stick. I just, consider it a little, aggressive marketing. But tell your story, why your business is a good business, rather than just giving numbers and facts and figures. Interview potential buyers. Prepare your business in advance, has been mentioned here. Don't go out and just, take on gallons that have no profitability. Make sure that, typically you go in there and you look at it, you've had attrition over the years, you have the same number of trucks you had 10 years ago. You're paying registration on them. You're paying personal property tax in some situations. So prepare your business for sale. Consider a consultant or a broker. And some of the reasons are typically consultants and brokers can lower your legal and accounting fees because they've been through this process so many times. And typically your attorneys and accountants have not. Or use accountants and attorneys that have been through the process. They can get a more advantageous deal structure. It's not what you sell it for, it's what you take home, so there's tax purposes. It's just less stress. It's good to have someone to talk to that's been through this process before.
No, I think, certainly being prepared is the best strategy. It just eliminates a lot of needless hassle. Obviously, dealing with lawyers and accountants can be difficult. They speak a different language frequently. You got to watch their billable hours, et cetera, et cetera. But certainly, I've had a number of transactions where, the owner did it themselves and it worked out okay. But frequently, you got a lot on your plate, and the key thing is not to let your business go while the process is going on. It can be fairly distracting, and sometimes it's better to have somebody that will help you out putting together the information so that you don't have to do all the dog work, and generally these people know what they're doing, so it's very helpful.
I think Steve's point about knowledgeable brokers and attorneys is important. He mentioned several brokers that are very good. We've dealt with. We haven't always had a sale, but we've dealt with, and they're very reputable, and they'll tell you the truth. That's certainly something I've experienced dealing with all of them. The attorney is a tricky one. A lot of people have a personal attorney that has dabbled in something else, and you think they may be able to do this. I probably advise against that. Use an attorney that's dealt specifically with the transition of an energy company, a heating oil company, a propane company. They know what the language is. They used to dealing with other attorneys that represent the businesses, either buying or selling the company. And it makes the process a lot smoother. I've seen the attorneys waste a lot of time and a lot of your money because they don't speak the same language, and they're trying to be creative, and they think they're going to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't happen. These businesses have been selling for 50 years, and it's not anything new to be done. It's basically the same thing that they've been doing. So stick with the people that know, or as they say, go with the pros, because it'll make your life a lot better and probably save you money in the long run.
Just to add to Steve's point, I mean, obviously the broker and the relationship and how that works out is very, very important. As Steve said, there are a lot of good folks within the industry that can help in the process. Knowing what your objective is, why do this, what's the goal, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, whether we're trying to grow the business or add gallons, what's the real major objective, and then just dealing with all the stuff that happens after the deal is consummated. I mean, to Steve's point, attorneys, relationships there, understanding a lot of times that's where deals really, really go on and never close, and your expenses get out of control. And I'd just like to add one more point, and that's post-closing. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but a lot of your relationships, your credibility, your ability to buy and grow is really contingent not just about who you bought, but how you manage the process after closing. The relationship with employees and staff, how you were able to integrate them into the business that you're acquiring. Integration, relationships, and how you bring those folks in are huge, because a lot of your next leads and opportunities to grow the business will come from how you handled the last one. So that is a very important part of growing, is to understand the post-closing process and what's involved in that, if all goes according to plan.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone coming today. I hope you got a lot out of it.